Hey everybody, Shoebox Legends here, back with a Signature Sundays episode where we look at autographed cards from my sports card collection that I've built up over the years. And I have a pair of Boston Red Sox autos to show today, and they are from a product called Topps 5-Star, which if you're not familiar with it, has some great on-card autographs. I don't know if the brand still exists, I think it does. But at the very least, it had a few-year run there, and it's pretty popular among collectors. The cards are super thick, as we're going to see, and I have a pair of them to show off from the 2012 5-Star release. The first is Adrian Gonzalez. So here's what they look like. They feature what I believe is a photograph, but it has sort of an effect applied to it to make it look almost like a painting. They have a very high-end feel with like ornate borders and some foil work here that you can see in the light. Just, basic nameplate at the bottom. All of the autographs are serial numbered. This one is out of 150. You can see there over his shoulder. And of course feature, bold on-card autographs. Adrian Gonzalez was a much better hitter than he was a signer of baseball cards. He's a little bit of a snoozer of an autograph. I see the A and I see the G, but for all the rest of the letters, it looks like he just gives us a swoop for the first name and a swoop for the last name. So certainly not the most fascinating autograph, but I like this guy. I've talked about it before. There was a brief period just before Xander Bogaerts broke onto the scene where I was kind of struggling to find a favorite Red Sox player, and for just the brief year and a half that he was with the team, Gonzalez was my favorite player on the team. Kind of wish I had been on a David Ortiz kick back then instead, but Gonzalez was my guy. I was excited when they picked him up. And here's a look at, you can really see how thick, as I mentioned, these cards are. If we compare this to, a standard trading card here that I have on top, there's a lot more width. So these are, I forget if they're, 130 point or 180 point autos, but they're pretty thick. Because of that, they're prone to a lot of corner and edge damage. So if you're in the market for 5-star autos, definitely be aware of that on both the front and back. This one's actually in pretty good shape. Not a card I would really chase these days. Gonzalez is actually now retired. Had a decent career. He didn't play that long, which didn't really help him out. He retired, at age, I think 36, 35, 36. So he had 15 years in the majors, but enough to accumulate, 2,000 career hits and, maybe a few hundred home runs. I think he finished with a little over 300 home runs, but he was a good hitter. His career batting average was 287, which is nothing to scoff at. The other subject that I have is actually a card that I like better than that, Gonzalez, and is one that I probably would still pick up today. And I'm a little happier to have, and it's this one here, Bill Buckner. This has a higher numbering than Gonzalez. It's numbered out of 208. A little tough to see there, but it's 208 in the upper corner. Copy number 140. Bill Buckner was a very, very, very good player that I think gets a little bit forgotten or overlooked by modern day collectors, just because he's not in the Hall of Fame. He didn't have 3,000 career hits or 500 career home runs or, an MVP to his name or anything like that. But he was a super solid, consistent guy who, you could regularly count on for 25 to 40 doubles, 10 to 20 home runs, somewhere in the range of 60 to even up to 100 runs batted in, and a very good contact hitter. He played 22 years at the major league level. Actually returned to Boston in 1990 for a few games to close out his career with the Red Sox. Sadly was at least most remembered for that infamous error in the 1986 World Series, the ball that went through his legs. Should have never been at first base to begin with and been put in that position. And unfortunately, that one play kind of tainted a very bright career. And it was really sad what happened to him for many years. I remember all the Buckner jokes growing up, really some really mean-spirited stuff. Was so depressed after the game, he went to step in front of a bus, but it went between his legs, those kinds of jokes. And it turned out it was really hard for him to live with that. and it really impacted him a lot. And later in his life, he's passed away now at a relatively early age, but later in his life, he was welcomed back to Fenway Park, and sort of the fans and the media, I guess in a way, kind of made amends for, rubbing him the wrong way over that era for all those years. And he got a nice standing ovation, and it was really touching to see just how emotional he got as a result of that. And of course, he passed just a few years after that. So I thought it was really fitting. I commend the Red Sox ownership for making that effort to sort of make things right with Buckner before he passed. And he, as I said, he didn't accumulate 3,000 career hits, but he did have over 2,700, which is nothing to scoff at. Finished with over 1,200 RBI and had an even better career batting average than Adrian Gonzalez. So for those of us who are maybe a little bit young to have seen Bill play in person or been able to appreciate him in person, I can appreciate how good a contact hitter Adrian Gonzalez was. I saw him many times in person included, and to know that, Buckner finished with an even higher average than Gonzalez in his major league career. He batted .289 across 22 major league seasons. So hats off to both Adrian Gonzalez and Bill Buckner. Thought it was, just made sense to show these two autographs off together when I encountered them, since they're from the same release. They're pretty striking, nice looking autos that I'm happy to have in my Red Sox collection, even if the Gonzalez isn't something that I would, necessarily seek out today. I'm nonetheless happy to have them both. So thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed these signatures, and I will certainly be back in the near future with some more Signature Sundays installments and some more sports cards overall. Until then, keep collecting and take care.